Welcome to Conversations with Cheryl Weston. Tonight, I wanted to bring you in to meet a lady that I met at Mayor Ewing's um, election party, successful party, um, who I found to be very interesting. And she identified herself as being part of a group, Common Good, an organization working for the good of all, trying to save democracy. And so I became involved with her. As you know, I always get involved, but I thought it was something that was interesting and where we were heading with this ideal of democracy. So I went to virtual couple of the meetings, and they were doing a lot of interesting things, trying to get rural America, rural Nebraska, to understand what this big, beautiful bill was all about and how it was going to affect them. And her goals were three items, she said. Elect John Ewing as mayor, get Don Bacon to vote no on the reconciliation bill, and to build a coalition three ways: individuals, groups, communities in process. So, with the passage of the big, beautiful bill, she's moved in, her and her group, into a new and more dangerous phase of those missions. And with that in mind, I'd like to bring her in and let's talk about it. And also her newsletter that went out after the signing of the bill. So, without any further information and delay, let's bring Jensen in so you all can meet her. And I think she should be coming in. I know she's there. I think, is she having, yep, there she goes. I knew you were going
No.
to do it. That's okay. It happens to the best of us. The main thing is that you're here. And as I was explaining to our audience how we met and some of the things that I thought, this is something that's really interesting. And I thought this is something that has to get out to people to help them to understand where we're going. And we are going down a very dangerous, dangerous path.
Yes,
Um, and as I explained to our audience, your three goals. Um, Number one goal was to elect John Ewing, and you were as mayor, and that was successful. But I thought also they might need to understand how this really got into thing is to what you were trying to do, how you were trying to capture the blue dot groups, the Facebook pages, all these scattered all over and try to bring this together. And so I'm going to let you say a few words about that. How did you really get this started and go from there?
wow. Let's see. That's a while ago. Well, it really was mostly through just messaging on some of the Facebook pages. And then, like I say, one of the other gals sent out a message right after the election when we were all reeling and said, anybody up for coffee? And like 50 of us showed up, but 50 very traumatized people that didn't know where to go or what to do. And we all decided to stay connected. So just through that little beginning of a mailing list,
Hmm.
and then people referring people and emails and chatting on Facebook. And we scheduled a first meeting in December and hit the horrible ice storm. So that had to be canceled. And then we had a little meeting, like 25 people came the week between Christmas and New Year's, which
Hmm.
said to me, people really wanted to come and get involved and get started going. And then in January, we had really our first substantial meeting, 100 people. And I loved that we were at Big Mama's Kitchen in North Omaha.
Hmm.
And had both Democratic mayoral candidates there speaking, but said to them and the audience that we needed to work strategically.
Mm-hmm.
We just were coming off knowing what it felt like to run a great race and come in second. And it was
Mm-hmm.
horrid. And we did not want to do that again. We did not want to congratulate two losing candidates on a race well run. We
Mm-hmm.
wanted to put one of them in the mayor's office. So we were going to have to choose who that was before the primary so that we could have a chance of getting one of our candidates through the primary and
Mm-hmm.
ultimately into the mayor's office, which is what we did.
And
Didn't
it's
make me
very hard,
popular with a lot of people.
I do a lot of trying to encourage people to understand how important a primary election is. That primary
Huge.
election is so important. Well, first of all, our local elections are the one most important, and the primary is right behind that. So as you said, you've got to get the candidate in there to have a choice,
Mhm.
come the general election, because if you don't have your candidate there, it's not going to happen. And
That's right.
so you started out, and how did you come about the name?
You know, somebody said something somewhere and it just went, "Hmm, I really like that. I think that's who we are. We are like-minded friends." And easiest thing I've ever done. It
Was
just was like, well, actually, I went to the group and said it was like-minded people. And the
Mhm.
group said, no, it's friends. Like,
Yeah.
okay. And now people sounds funny to me. So
Mhm.
they were right. They
Yeah,
were right. Yeah.
came out. Well, I think I know at one of the last meetings, and I was encouraging you because had a little, it was kind of frustrating to you. I could tell is that you had the meeting before that, you had all this scheduled and outlined and everything. And then when it got right down to the last minute, um, as usual, there are those who do not come through. But you were persevering, and I tried to say, hey, do what you got to do, do the best you can, and that's all you can hope for. Um, and you,
And I learned a lot with that too, Cheryl. I think
uh-huh.
my first impulse was that people just weren't living up to what they said they do.
Hmm.
And then as I was talking to all these leaders and CEOs, I was finding out that what really had happened was in that kind of 2 weeks between when we planned and then when we set up the meetings and we were ready to go, so much
Hmm.
had come down
Every day.
every day, that by the time we got to there, so much had changed that it's like I had three groups that were sending people to DC to try and lobby. I had one group who had lost 60% of their main grant. So
Hmm.
they were just trying to figure out how to stay alive.
Right.
Food banks that were just scrambling, trying to
Hmm.
find food. So I realized, and all of them, when I talked to them, every one of them said, "Have you tried this person? Have you tried that one?" And so, number one, our coalition grew dramatically, and people just said, keep going, keep trying." And as it ended up, I took Amanda Gershon from Lincoln with me, and we went to the Panhandle, and we did the meetings ourselves, and they were wonderful.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh, not, I'm not an authority. I'm not a CEO of anything, but
Hmm.
they just wanted information. They wanted to learn.
And I think, and I want to reemphasize to the audience, what you were trying to do was to educate and get the rule because you thought there was hope that if you could get enough of them to understand, and this was the big problem with this bill, and
Mhm.
it was done strategically, is to put the pressure on. And a lot of people will say, "Oh, he's dumb, he's stupid." But it's not necessarily, and I keep saying, it is not the one that you see the face of. It is the ones that are behind the one you see the face of. And if you go back to which I said continuously, um, this is all in line with Project 2025. And one thing Steve Banner said, and I put a video out, and I think I'm going to bring it back and show it again, is he said, and everything is going along, is we intend to keep so much going every single day that people will not know what's really going to transpire. And that's what really happened with this bill. This is not something that was just, oh, overnight they planned. This was planned ahead of time, when to bring it out, and then to bring in the tariffs, the deportation, all of it, so that you would be distracted. And he
Yes.
was right on target, and that's what has accomplished. And with this fear, so what you were trying to do, and if I'm wrong, is to go out to the rural area to see if they understood. And what did you find out when you went out there?
Yeah, 9 out of 10 of them, when we'd say, "Oh, hi, I'm Lyndon. We're doing a meeting right next door,
Mm-hmm.
and it's about the BBB, the big beautiful bill. Are you familiar with that?" Thinking, of course, everybody knew that, and they'd say, "Well, yes," or
Mm-hmm.
no, just blank stares. And so it's like, well, the one big beautiful bill, the one going through Congress, the reconciliation bill. Any way you try to describe it, just blank. And
Mm-hmm.
when I got to the place, I was calling um, local nonprofits so that we could. My idea was to take someone in with us,
Mm-hmm.
and the hospitals, the medical people, if they were able, were very willing because they knew about it. They were very concerned. One of the hospitals was having an 8-hour board meeting the week we were there. Well, she didn't need to tell me what that meeting was about. We both knew that.
Mm-hmm.
When I called into the city of Scottsbluff, I spoke to their economic development director. She didn't know what it was. She was literally Googling as we were speaking and going, oh my gosh, no, I didn't know this. Could you send me more information?
Mm-hmm.
They are not getting any coverage. And I said, we knew that because we'd said if Western Nebraska knew what was coming, we'd be hearing it. We'd be hearing them saying, you can't do this to us. And we weren't. Even knowing that, we were both absolutely stunned
Mm-hmm.
with the lack of information. And all we could finally say was, well, okay, if it's that red in that area, the newspapers, the radios, the TVs, they are not putting on anything but conservative news. And so no one's
Because
getting any information.
and
They didn't know.
and they're
Talk
saying,
to a
how
gal at a
great this is. And they're not really understanding until, and I read an article right after they finally got the bill passed and everything. And I can't remember who it was by, but he named the four states. And his title was, This is Going to Hurt Rural America. And the reasons why he gave, because a lot of those farmers and things, you bought equipment. You are in debt for equipment. You are having your workers taken deported. And you know what it was saying, and he got through? He said, Trump told you, I don't really care about you. I just want your vote. And this is what's coming back to them. People do not understand and really, but they're going to rather rapidly. Linda, I'm going to try. Sometimes I'm really good at this and sometimes I'm not, but I wanted to, hopefully it's going to work today. Um, I wanted to bring up, lo and behold, hey, it worked. We get to see
Oh my
like-minded
gosh, I
friends.
recognize that.
And I wanted to bring this up because there's a couple of sections I'd really like to go through. And if we're going to, oh, don't get your fingers going, Cheryl, because every time I do that, I get them fingers going, man, that gets to clicking and I don't know where
No,
I'm at.
don't,
But
yeah, don't get clicked out.
so I wanted to, a part of it, we get down here. And this is really, you said you had a lot of support.
Mhm.
And you just talked about how those food banks are stressed with the growing number of clients, and they are going to have a problem because a lot of their funding is being cut. So they're going to have to really, be concerned with donors who are giving, plus the cost of whatever they're buying to them, that's going up. And so everything is going up, and people aren't really understanding it. But as you said, your whole thing was to try to get to bacon.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna have to say it because I told you so. I told people back before in the election, I said right after it, I said he's not concerned because he has another job that he's going to take, and he doesn't have to worry about the campaigning and stuff. He does not care. He will talk about it and make it seem as if he's on your side. And guess what? His percentage, almost every
Mhm.
time. He would
Yep.
vote right in line. So,
Yep.
like, people, what do you expect for it to be? So when you think about that, and you were trying so hard to get these people to call, and you even had these petitions, how did it, I know that had to be really heartbreaking to
Um,
and all that.
it was, well, maybe I'm just behind you, obviously. Throughout, we had a lot of people saying the same thing you were. And I said, I get it, but everything he's saying and everything in his news conferences was saying in his words, I'm not going off the cliff with the party.
No.
He absolutely played the game. It was really disgusting.
Hmm.
I don't know when I've lost so much respect for any one person. And then when you dig into the bill and you understand,
Hmm.
number one, you understand work requirements aren't about work. They're a strategy to take care from people. They're a strategy that has been proven in other places not to work, that the two government departments involved with them have said, put out policy warnings and said, we can't support this. It goes in the face of what the program's for. They have all the information to know how bad this is. Their other option is to come out and say, we have to get money from somewhere. It's the only place. So we're kicking people off of Medicaid, and they're not going to make that announcement. They're going to make the people be the bad folks and saying they didn't qualify because they didn't follow the rules. And
Hmm.
then they make the rules impossible to follow. Same
Exactly.
thing they've done with our immigration program. Make immigrants be here legally, but don't give them a way to be here legally.
Hmm.
It's all just it's ugly gamesmanship, and now we're at another level of it,
Hmm.
Cheryl. I was concerned about this bill. We worked so hard
Hmm.
because I said, and others said, if this bill passes, it makes it exponentially harder for us to save our democracy. That hasn't changed. I'm not going to say, oh no, it's not that bad. It's that bad. We have a very serious situation on our hands,
Hmm.
and it's time we all have to come together and be ready to make some new strategy and decide how worth it our American democracy is.
And that's one of the things I hope people will understand, that this is about saving democracy. Saving, you know,
Yes,
is it the best? No. Does it have flaws? Yes. But is it worth giving up without this fight? And that's what it's going to be, is a fight, because it's gone too
that's right.
far, is to understand how these people are taking it away from those who are the most vulnerable. And when they say that, you're putting these working clause in requirements, and to get up, that is how they're saying are going to use. We take these people off, and see that money's going in and reducing. It is not.
Mm.
And I hope that people, well, I'm sure they're going to start to understand when it
Well, not
happens.
Not right away.
No, no.
May I explain? That they have been not only strategic in their planning,
Mm-hmm.
but also in the implementation. So the tax cuts will take effect immediately. So the rich will get richer immediately. The
Mm-hmm.
cuts to Medicaid and SNAP will not be put in for about 18 months. And so that's after the midterm election. So again, the people who are disengaged will be thinking, well, that, they made a big deal out of that. And nothing happened to me. I'm just fine. Well, it's because it hasn't taken effect yet. So if they once again vote for Republicans, they're really going to get it because this next midterm is critical because any gains they make then, the changes we have to watch at the midterms are about gerrymandering
Mm-hmm.
and making the 2028 election not fair. Now, what will take impact, in addition to the tax cuts, are the fact that in this bill, they have just made ICE the third largest military in the world. The military size, they have given over 170 billion with a B dollars to ICE. So you've seen some coverage of the center built in Florida. It's a
Mm-hmm.
concentration camp. Don't use their
Exactly.
branding. It's a concentration camp. LA was a test run. They are
Exactly.
now 19,000
Mm-hmm.
new people. My fear is there'll be the first 1,500 of them got let out of jail on Trump's inauguration day. They were the insurrectionists, the white
Mm-hmm.
supremacists. Of course, all of those folks will get hired. We're going to have boots on the streets, and if it's not here first, it'll get here. That's going to be the
Exactly.
first thing. So
Yeah.
we
Los
need to get
Angeles was a
organized. We
run. Yes, it was a test run. And what I like to point out to people is, you know why it was a test run? Because it was a test run where they went to governors or state that had a popular governor who is potentially going to run for president. And then their city where they took the most, Los Angeles, has a black mayor. Omaha had came up because that's right after the election of John Ewing and were sizable. This was another test run to see what was going to happen. And I would like for you to repeat, because I think some people might missed it, how much money was given to ICE?
170 something. I think it's
Billion. Yes.
107 billion
Billion. B, capital B.
dollars. Our
And
ICE is now bigger than the Russian military.
now, also, here's the thing. The tax cuts take place 2026.
Yes,
But when does ICE get their money?
right
That's
now.
allocated immediately. And why? Because this
Well, because they had already
exactly,
the January 4th date was because they had already overspent. So they were already in illegal territory on what they had spent with ICE. They needed to get this passed to get to money immediately.
exactly.
Um, go ahead. There's one more thing, and it went through,
Oh,
and
I
it'll
do
come
that
back
all
to
the
me.
time. I do that all the time. Sometimes it comes back and then sometimes it never comes back and then sometimes it's way weeks later. But the point is I wanted to make was the size of that $170 billion, they will get that allocated. And here's where Congress could. They could, because actually it's supposed to be allocated by Congress through that. And there could be some, but I can't see it happening. I we just don't have any backbone because we have all these millionaires who have become in the Senate. Most of them have become millionaires. They didn't
Mhm.
come in, they stayed too long. And then you go to the House, it's almost as bad. And because there is no backbone in this sphere. That is one of the reasons why I want to go back around is why these 2026 election is so important.
Yes.
What is your group planning on doing to help elect individuals, or how are you going to go about your fight for the 2026?
Well, we're just keeping an ear to the ground right now of who's lining up for different offices. And it
Mm-hmm.
seems like it's happening organically. I believe Dan Osborne will take on Pete Ricketts.
Mm-hmm.
We know we can't win that race on money because it's bottomless pockets. What the Ricketts don't have, their supporters would.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to, and that's true because Pete Ricketts has already bought several Nebraska offices, not only his in the Senate and the governor's, but virtually every state house representative that's run, he's funded. So we can't win races on money anymore. When we get to the power, we have to take money out of politics. For now, and this is why it's so important. I want to get North Omaha pulled into our group. Our meetings, I kept saying, you guys, we're all vanilla. We hardly even have sprinkles. We need our coalition to look like our communities.
Mm-hmm.
So that means not only black and brown, but colorful. The young LGBTQ kids with the pink and orange and yellow
Mm-hmm.
hair. We need it all. We need to come together. And ultimately, we're going to pull in those red rural farmers that went, this is not what I voted for. They
Mm-hmm.
may be conservative, but they're still Americans and they want their democracy. Anybody that wants to save democracy can stand with me. And right now, I need to stand in front of you, literally, because when the boots get on the ground, the people of color are always more endangered. So the people who are the least
Mm-hmm.
endangered are the old white ladies. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I qualify, so I'm going to be at the head of the pack. Um, they're
I
going
want
to
to
have to
interrupt
come
you
through us.
just briefly, Linda, because sometimes people don't get it. Would you explain? I know what you mean. Would you explain when boots get on the ground? What is that?
Meaning we are literally what they have just created here, in case you've missed it, is a Gestapo.
Mm-hmm.
ICE will now be like what the movies you've seen of Germany
Mm-hmm.
in the 30s. What's on the ground is going to be military whose job now is policing American citizens. They report only to Donald Trump, and his mission is to take and they've already said not only the immigrants, but then we want the homegrowns gone.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the homegrowns can be anybody from me, who has spoken against him, to news people, to some of his former staffers that have now come out against him, let alone people of color, trans kids, anybody he doesn't agree with, they're gone.
And also, when you talk about, because boots on the ground is not just national, we're going through that because you attended a 360 meeting. You started attending that, and you attended the meeting after JI was executed. Um, and that is a form of boots on the ground because those are called jump out. That was not a SWAT team action.
No, it was
That
not.
is jump out. And that
I now I
is what is happening
heard.
with here in Omaha. It's starting where it's small, where there you have the fear and you have it. So it is black and brown and red people who are going to be intimidated. Those are the ones who are going to be um, harassed. Those are the ones who are going to
Mhm.
be arrested.
Yep.
And it's a start so that with the combination of their local, which people don't understand, combination of local enforcement with national enforcement,
Mhm.
that's where you're going to get it.
Yeah,
Those are your boots on the
if
ground.
our local officers, and I saw a
Mhm.
huge difference when I was at that meeting and subsequent meeting, and of course now I've kind of gotten a little tiny bit informed enough that I'm going digging and looking. I see a big difference between our police department and our sheriff's department.
Big time, big time. And I just had an interview with Chief Schmatter. I'm waiting on a reply from Deputy Chief Hansen um, to interview him because, the community, we should not have to live in fear.
Yeah.
And there is a problem with, what should I say, boots on the ground who are going up and above what they
Mhm.
should be as law enforcement cooperating
Yes.
instead of this antagonist nature that they have. But um, one of the things that you said briefly, and I do remember in some of the meetings, as you said, you were vanilla, um,
Yes, we are.
very much vanilla. And there's a reason because this is an issue, and then I'm not really sure, Linda, how it's probably going to play out, is that all over the country, Black folks have said this was not our fight because we are in the same spot where we have been and kind of looks like the future where we're going, but we were not the fight because we did not put him there. And, the media, mainstream media would like to say, but those who have really been honest about the voting statistics and the truth have said there were two classes. White women and Hispanic males were the overpowering most of the votes that went towards Trump. Plus, and I'll say it until it's proven differently, whatever Elon Musk did, because he had
Mhm.
his hands in that pot, you can't tell me there wasn't some conspiracy. I just do not believe that he could get that many votes. All those votes came um, electoral states. I just don't believe it. But that is what is happening now, Linda. And that's why you're having a problem in trying to bring the black and the brown red in, is because we don't feel it's our fight. Every time that we've been called to come and forth, and we did, we get the short end of the stick. So what
Mhm.
you were trying to do, as you were talking, we had a conversation earlier, is the upcoming John Lewis event. Can you
Yeah.
tell the audience what that's going to be about?
Yes, I would love to. So there are several, actually many, but national
Hmm.
activist groups. And I'm going to say there's a handful that, like any other thing, there may be 200 groups, but there's a handful that are leading the way.
Hmm.
And they thankfully have really gotten together very well so that when an announcement is made of what is the next national event,
Hmm.
they're all together on it. And this one came out that it is on July 17th, which is interestingly a Thursday. And they chose that day because it's the fifth anniversary of the passing of John Lewis. So the event is in honor of him. The themes for the day are there's three: racial justice, voting rights, and inclusivity. Democracy is not democracy until we're all included.
Hmm.
So I get where you're at, and I know that stats show that 92% of Black women voted for Kamala. It's
Hmm.
certainly not your fault. Um, I'm like, I don't get it with white women, but I don't know. I am one. I certainly didn't vote for him. He's in office right now. And so here's my position is most of the people that I'm talking to, and it doesn't matter what gender or what color they are people who did not vote for Donald Trump.
Hmm.
Okay. Regardless, we are all facing a very serious and a very real issue that he wants to eliminate our democracy. As a matter of fact, some of the most highly regarded worldwide institutes on it say we're already living in
Mhm.
autocracy. Our democracy is gone. We have to get it back. Okay.
Right.
People don't recognize that at all. So, what I'm saying to you is things are as fast as they've gone, they're only going to go faster.
Mhm.
They're only going to get worse because now they have this huge funding to make military police a part of our lives. I mean, you saw that on the streets of Germany and people carrying their papers and getting shot if they didn't give the right answers. And who would ever believe that that could be here? But it's coming.
Mhm.
And it's hard yet to know how bad it could be, but hang on, guys, it could be very, very bad. The fact what we've seen in Los Angeles is horrendous.
Mhm.
I'm thinking it's going to be worse than that. So you're in the fight with us because if we don't fight together, Cheryl, if we don't stand together and get our numbers together, they will gladly take us apart one at a time. They will go for the LGBTQ community first because it's so small. Those guys have no chance of standing alone. Then they'll go for the immigrants. We've already seen that. And you're going to be next in line. And the old saying is by the time they came for me, there was nobody left to stand with me.
Right.
We're
I
smarter than we have history to rely on. We know what the game plan is, and we can see, just like anybody else can, that he is playing by an authoritarian playbook that has been used over and over and over. We can't keep our head in the sand. We've got to encourage one another to say, we got to get together in this. We are the only thing that's going to save ourselves. Congress is written off. The Senate's gone. They proved that in this last bill. The Supreme Court has been co opted by the Heritage Foundation. The only thing still standing, and they have emasculated that, is our district courts.
Mhm.
They are trying, but the administration's also trying to take all kinds of power away from them. So they're trying, and the people are trying. The people are the last thing standing. That's why you've got to get in it with us, or we all go down together. And I've been trying to tell people for a year, we all have to focus strictly, even though this day is in honor of racial justice, and that's huge. Our main focus right now has to be on standing together and saving our democracy because it truly is in critical, critical condition.
Well, I have on the
It's gone.
screen when you're going to have the next meeting, which is going to be Monday, and I believe here we go right there. Um Monday evening, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the First United Methodist Church, 7020 Cass Street. You can also go online and watch or participate virtually.
Yes.
And one of the things, where people I think will get more information if they do this, attend the meeting. But as you said, it's so important that we do not stop. I know a lot of people are downhearted because of the vote, but it's like you have to pick yourself up, dust it off, and let's get up and get back to the fight because we are in a fight. Um, and one of the reasons I told you, I'm not making the decision for other people, but I do like to feel like we are providing information to get out to people. And then, to hear from you, to see this. This will be online. Also, I will make sure that we get your letter, our newsletter, which you did an excellent job on putting together.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So,
We'll
trust
make
me,
sure that it gets out there. We'll have it out on Facebook and Google. And like I said, people can watch this and they can decide for themselves. If you want to attend, here it is. You can do that. Feel free to I'll send you this video so you can the link for it, and you can use it. Now, you did say that you were going to be trying to meet with several individuals. in order to see how you can bring the North Omaha and there's a couple people, I'll send you some names where you might try to reach out to
I
them
would
to
love
bring
that.
them in, as well as South individuals from South Omaha, some black and brown, and our individuals who are red, black, and brown. That's what you're trying to get. So you can contact
Yep.
me and see. At least I
Yeah.
always say, if I put it there for you, it's yours for the taking. If you want to, fine. If you're not, I'm not telling you to. I'm not telling you not to. But I always try to tell people, the reason they don't want this information to get out is because knowledge is power. And if
Absolutely.
you don't know it, and you found that out when you went to the rural areas, how it is. And something you told me, and I think if you don't mind sharing that again, is something they told you is, how do the rural areas get their news? They only get their news from, and that is right out of the, as you said, authoritarian um, countries. It's all state control. But in our rural areas in Nebraska, it's all red control, and that's what people get
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. They are living a in a box.
in a
And
box.
and what I want your listeners to know especially is I recognize that we have some different cultural things that we're trying to bring together. I don't want to step on any toes. I want the Black community, the Brown community, I want anybody who has feelings on how an event should be presented. I want you at the table helping us plan. I really, my hope, my dream is when we get this all done, we can shut off MAGA and the billionaire class, and the rest of us can have a good America that we can move forward again, much like in the FDR years, because we're going to have a lot of rebuilding and a lot of damage to repair that's already been done, and we've got to get through another year.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of ugly coming.
Hmm.
Um, I want to know your people. And the people I've gotten to know. Oh my gosh, when I go to the Empowerment Network,
Hmm.
I I got to know you. Oh, and I was going to throw
Well,
in,
you got to know me before, because you hadn't seen me, because I don't go too often. Every so often I'll go in to see, okay, what's going on, but I met you at John's event. But and then I was there last week because I wanted to see, um okay, has anything changed? And I was telling someone, I looked at it, and I'm not saying negatively or anything, but Linda, I looked at it as if it was a soap opera from the guiding light or guiding. So, in the fact that I could be gone for a year and it would be the same,
and I get that
you
because
know?
the problem's the same. But when you see the statistics, I was very, very impressed
Hmm.
when one of the guys brought years worth of statistics, and you can see the crime numbers going down. So something's making an impact. Now, you wouldn't know it by the last month in this town, but,
Oh.
and I don't know what goes on there. I don't know. I'm learning so much. I do want to throw out that when I invited Willie and Jonathan and a couple of the other guys to get together with me and help plan this, I also invited John Ewing, and he responded, not surprisingly, that he doesn't have time to plan that event, but he'd love to participate and promote it. I would love that more than anything. The crowd that you and I saw
Hmm.
at his victory party,
Yeah,
that's what we want. It black and white and brown and pink, and everybody was hugging
it
everybody and
was. It
loving
was
it.
very, it was very much so. And that's what it's really going to take. We're going to have to put some of our differences away.
Mhm.
And I think it's only working together for the gold. We have to look and see what is the end of the line, what is the prize, and that's what we have to work together for. Well, Linda, I'm going to let you, if there's one more comment or something that you would like to say, because I'll let you end it. And I
Um,
appreciate you taking out this time. We will get this out and we'll post that the
I do have
upcoming
one.
meeting is
I remembered that other comment, Cheryl. The one word that wasn't in the bill, even though the word was never there, it's there, and that's Medicare.
yeah. Well, that's coming.
Because it's coming because the deficit will be increased so dramatically by these
$1.4
tax
trillion
cuts
dollars
that it,
already.
yes, and it automatically triggers a thing where they have to cut something,
Hmm.
and Medicare's fair game. So it
Well,
wasn't ever in the bill on the table, and it
no.
will be cut.
And there will be a change in Social Security. Social Security and
We are
Medicare,
in
if
we
they
are in
don't
the fight for
change the
our life.
election, if there's no change in control of the House and the Senate, there will be Social Security and Medicare will be on the so people get ready. We've
Yep.
warned you before, and you see what happens. So we really have to get out there and we have to start pushing for the 2026 election is vital that people need to be registered, but not only register, they need to get out and vote. That's what's going to make the difference in what we can do or not do. Thanks, Linda. Have a great
That's our
evening. We'll
workshop.
get this for you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Everybody come, whether it's virtual or at the church Monday night. I want your opinions. I want to hear. I want to have a gathering with you in honor of John Lewis.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Bye bye.